Micah's ministry was roughly from the years 750 to 700 BC. During the ministry of Micah, the Assyrians would begin their campaigns against Israel as they are conquering the world. And I want to give you a warning as we jump into these next two chapters, chapters 4 and 5. Micah is going to be bouncing all over time. I don't know that he's got a DeLorean or not, but he's going to be bouncing all over time, back and forth from his time to the day of Jesus' return and back again in times in between. So Micah chapter 4, and we're going to actually pick it up in verse 8 is where we left off. Chapter 4 has been about life in Israel after Jesus returns, far from Micah's future. Hasn't happened yet, so we're talking 3,000 years. We started this section that we're in last week talking about how God would gather the outcasts and rebuild the nation of Israel, and we're starting in verse 8. And you, O tower of the flock, the stronghold of the daughter of Zion, to you it shall come, or to you shall it come, even the former dominion shall come, the kingdom of the daughter of Jerusalem. Here, Jerusalem is called a tower. It's the lookout, the place of protection. And one day it will gain its former stature because it will have been leveled and it will be rebuilt. Verse 9. Now why do you cry aloud? Is there no king in your midst? Has your counselor perished? For pangs have seized you like a woman in labor. Now we're back in Micah's time. Verse 10, be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in birth pangs. For now you shall go forth from the city, you shall dwell in the field, and to Babylon you shall go. There you shall be delivered. There the Lord will redeem you from the hand of your enemies. He says, to Babylon you shall go. In Micah's day, the people in Jerusalem might be thinking that if anything, they're going to be taken to Nineveh or to Assyria, because those are the big dogs in the block. That's where the big world empire is. But that's not what's going to happen. At the time of Micah's writing, Babylon is just a small city-state along the Euphrates River. It's nothing at the time of Micah's writing. Yet 100 years after Micah writes, Babylon will have become a world empire, and Jerusalem would be taken captive. What he writes is actually quite phenomenal. 100 years before it happens, 100 plus years before it happens. Verse 11. Now also many nations have gathered against you, who say, let her be defiled, and let our eye look upon Zion. He says, many nations have gathered against you. I kind of think he's leapt forward into the future again, because Zechariah prophesies that this is what would happen leading up to the Battle of Armageddon. So you see how we're talking about he's bouncing, he's got his DeLorean is all over the place. His time machine is all over the place. Verse 12. But they do not know the thoughts of the Lord, these nations, nor do they understand his counselor. For he will gather them like sheaves to the threshing floor. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make your horn iron, and I will make your hooves bronze. You shall beat in pieces many peoples. I will consecrate their gain to the Lord, and their substance to the Lord of the whole earth. It talks about sheaves and the threshing floor. The picture is that Jerusalem will at some point be judging the nations, like wheat is threshed and beaten. It's kind of like you don't want to be some of the people who have been causing trouble to Jerusalem, because there will be a day in the future when they will judge, they will beat their enemies. Chapter 5, verse 1. Now gather yourself in troops, O daughter of troops. He has laid siege against us. They will strike the judge of Israel with a rod on the cheek. Now, some suggest that this judge of Israel he's talking about is Zedekiah, who's the last king of the southern kingdom. I think he could be talking about Jesus as the judge of Israel. He would be struck with rods. Chapter 5, verse 2. But you, Bethlehem Ephratah, though you are a little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of you shall come forth to me the one to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth are from of old, from everlasting. Bethlehem Ephratah. It's a little town. Bethlehem means house of bread. Ephratah means fruitfulness. And this is one of those most amazing prophecies in the Old Testament. We're given the birthplace of the Messiah 700 years before he comes. In fact, in Jesus' day, when the wise men show up, they know that there's a king born, and they don't know where the king will be. And they ask the scribes, the religious scholars, and they say, oh, well, we know he's going to be born in Bethlehem. Everybody gets what this is about. This is about the birth of the Messiah 700 years before he's born. And he says, though you are little, yet out of you shall come forth to me the one who's to be ruler. Though you are little. Bethlehem has never been a big city. Oh, little town of Bethlehem. It's always been a little town. Always been a little town. In Jesus' day, it was about 5,000 people. Jerusalem was about 750,000 people. So it's just a little teeny place. Today, it's about 30,000 people. Fullerton is 125,000. So it's, I think last time I checked, Placentia was 60,000. So it's like half the size of Placentia. It's small compared to the other places. You might think that the great king will come from the big city. Jerusalem is only 6 miles away. But no, he will come from Bethlehem, though you are little. Whose goings forth, it says, verse 2, are from of old, from everlasting. You know this is talking about Jesus, just in case you're wondering. Whose goings forth are from of old. Jesus, unlike any other person ever born, actually existed before he was born. Now, our Mormon friends will tell us that, we were all given birth by the gods in heavens, and then we took human bodies or something like this. It's very interesting the way they come to this idea. That's not biblical. There's only one who has ever existed prior to being born, and this is Jesus. It says his goings forth are from of old, from everlasting. The word that translates everlasting is olam. It means long duration, antiquity, or futurity, everlasting, perpetual. If Jesus existed before he was born, does he show up in the Old Testament? I would say yes, he does. In the Old Testament, he appears under a different name. He is an individual known as the angel of Yahweh, the angel of the Lord. This is a unique phrase, a specific phrase in the Old Testament that indicates a specific, unique person. He makes many appearances in the Old Testament. If you get one of those computer Bibles out there and you search for the angel of the Lord, not an angel of the Lord, or not an angel of a Lord, but the angel of the Lord, you will find that phrase appears 58 times in the Old Testament. That's kind of a lot. The angel of the Lord, don't get sidetracked thinking that he's a created angelic being. That's what our Jehovah's Witness friends would like to tell us. But the word angel in both Greek and Hebrew simply means a messenger. It can include those created beings that we typically call angels, but it's any kind of a messenger, the messenger of Yahweh. He's the one who appears to Abraham when he's about to sacrifice Isaac on Mount Moriah in Genesis 22. He's the one who spoke to Moses out of the burning bush. That's the angel of the Lord. He's the one who appears to David at the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite on Mount Moriah, which would lead to the purchase of the property and the building of the temple. The angel of the Lord. We believe that this individual, the angel of the Lord, is called a theophany, which means an appearance of God in human form. And there are some of the passages, like some of these, where he's actually called God, the angel of the Lord. Verse 2. I want to go back and just talk about this phrase here, about Bethlehem Ephratah. Bethlehem was David's hometown. King David was born in Bethlehem. This is where Samuel the prophet found David when he went to anoint the next king after Saul. He found him in Bethlehem. God promised David that he and his descendants would always rule. 2 Samuel 7:13, he shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. This is a promise to David about his descendants. So in a way, this prophecy could kind of be fulfilled by being someone who's a descendant of David, because they're connected maybe 5 degrees. They're connected to Bethlehem, the birthplace of David. And yet God is going to fulfill it literally. Now, historically, you might think, well, then that's no big deal. Okay, he's born in Bethlehem. It's the family, it's where the family homestead is in Bethlehem. So there's no big deal for him to be born in Bethlehem. But I got to tell you, historically, it almost didn't happen. During the next 700 years from Micah's time, the Jews would be hauled off to Babylon. Then they would be returned to Israel. And though some people settled in the south, like Bethlehem, Joseph and his pregnant fiancée were living in Nazareth, which is 70 miles away from Bethlehem. So how is the Messiah to be born in Bethlehem if his parents are living in Nazareth? You know the story, don't you? You know the story. God uses a pagan emperor named Caesar Augustus, a man who claimed to be God himself, to put out a decree. He wanted to know how many people there were in the world. And he demanded that everybody go to their ancestral home to be counted in a census. And because of this, Joseph and his pregnant fiancée get on a donkey and head south, and the baby is born in Bethlehem. God uses this pagan man to get his son born in the right place, 700 years after the prophecy of Micah. Let me just say this. God knows what he's doing. God knows what he's doing. He hasn't lost control, hasn't forgotten you, hasn't, lost your phone number. At times I thought that. I know there was a time 35 years ago where I thought God had forgotten me. Felt like he'd called me to be a pastor when I was 18 years old. But it didn't happen right away. It didn't happen until almost 20 years later. And I remember at times thinking, what's happened? What's happened? I'm here. God hasn't forgotten you. God knows what he's doing. We go through times when we don't have a clue how things are going to turn out, because it doesn't look like it's going to turn out the way we thought it would. And then, to make matters worse, somebody will poke us in the eye by quoting this scripture. And we know that God works all things together for good to those who love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose. Now, I got to tell you, sometimes that's like a poke in the eye. I mean, sometimes it's a dear, precious promise, and sometimes we want to hear that. We cling to this. But sometimes it's like a poke in the eye, because we look at our life and we think there's no way that this is going to turn out good. Do you ever think that? Have I put you to sleep? Do you ever think that? Yeah, you do. Let me play you a video.
Let me just say to
You may not see what God is doing, but God does. When you think of Bethlehem, oh little town of Bethlehem, it almost didn't happen in a sense. God knows what he's doing. God knows what he's doing. You can trust him. Verse 3. Therefore he shall give them up until the time that she who is in labor has given birth. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return to the children of Israel. It says, she who is in labor has given birth. Now, I hear that giving birth isn't an easy thing. Moms, is that true? Sorry, one more video.
Did you know that according to women, childbirth is the worst kind of pain there is?
And did you know, according to women, that us men can't handle any of it?
Well, did you know that according to men, women exaggerate everything?
Everything.
That's why we decided to make an appointment with Dr. Julie Masters.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, good.
I'm Dr. Julie Masters.
Hi,
Brian.
I'm Dan.
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
Are you guys ready for this experience?
Yeah, ready?
What we're going to do today is we're going to put some electrode stimulations on your abdomen, which are going to give you some contractions so we can kind of simulate contractions to show what your wife went through during labor.
That sounds funny.
Well, we're going to hook you up right now.
All right.
Go ahead and lay back.
Okay.
What we're doing right now is we're just hooking up the contraction monitor.
This reminds me of those infomercials
Nice and tight.
where they're like,
Nice and tight. Got it?
I'm going to have a six-pack after this.
You're basically going to electrocute us for an hour?
Yes. We're gonna
In a very small way. Just right here in your abdomen. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Here are your wives.
Hey, guys.
And I'm just going to give you guys a couple little contractions
All right.
just so you can see what it feels like. Where are you feeling that? Are you feeling it in your upper belly?
I'm feeling it right there.
Right now we're going to be starting to simulate a little bit like early labor. Should be, maybe like a 2 or 3
What were
out
we
of
just
10 in
doing?
pain.
That was early labor.
I got to remember my breathing.
Well, that's different.
Look at me.
Talk to me right now.
Now you're almost getting to like the active stage of labor where it's really getting good.
All right.
Here we go. Smile. Breathe. Awesome. Awesome, guys. It's starting to come down now. You guys are doing awesome.
Cut it. Focus. Breathe. Breathe.
Start to be increasing in intensity. Come down a little bit. Start to come down.
That had to be at least, I'm hoping it's a 7. That's a 7?
No, you're at a 4.
Feels like someone's taking a sawzall and just carving up my abdomen.
Are you doing that?
Stop smiling!
Oh, wow. It's starting to really calm down now. Okay, you're doing really great. And now in normal labor, you'd be having a contraction pretty soon again, okay?
but I
All right.
don't want that yet.
Okay.
Can we give I'm going to throw up.
Start to come down.
You're gonna be okay.
Turn to come down.
Sorry, gotta do that.
You don't want to quit now.
Here we
There you
go.
go.
Here we go.
Oh my God!
There you go.
That's what it feels like.
That's it. There you go.
That was not good.
Sucked. That sucked. That was horrible.
Better than you thought or worse?
A lot worse.
A lot worse.
I'm telling you right now, I felt like I was having a baby.
Mom, if anything that I just experienced is anywhere close to what I did to you all those years ago, I'm sorry. You're like a superhero. You're one tough mama. Happy Mother's Day.
She who is in labor has given birth. The idea is that the people of Israel will seem to be abandoned by God until this birth occurs. The birth could be Mary giving birth to Jesus, but I think it makes more sense that the birth is the nation of Israel, 1948, because if you look at the text, it says the birth is followed by a remnant returning from all over the world, and that's what's happened since the birth of Israel. Verse 4, and he shall stand and feed his flock in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God, and they shall abide, for now he shall be great to the ends of the earth. And this one shall be peace. When the Assyrian comes into our land, and when he treads in our palaces, then we will raise against him 7 shepherds and 8 princely men. They shall waste with the sword the land of Assyria and the land of Nimrod at its entrances. Thus he shall deliver us from the Assyrian when he comes into our land and when he treads within our borders. Now, verse 5 said, this one shall be peace. The Messiah would be Israel's source of peace. And I think, even though some of your translations make a break between the first half of verse 5 and the second half of verse 5, and they stick them in separate paragraphs, I think it also can mean that he was their peace even when Assyria would come. In verse 5 it says, when the Assyrian comes into our land. In Micah's day, the Assyrians were the big threat. They had wiped out the northern kingdom, and they did that during the time of Micah. They would come back 20 years later and start threatening the southern kingdom of Judah, wipe out just about everything else. Some have suggested that the Assyrian is a phrase that covers all of the enemies of Israel, and that God will in the future deliver Israel from their enemies. That's an interesting idea, just throwing that out there. And even though the nation of Assyria does not exist today, when you map it out on Google Earth, it covers the nations of Syria, Turkey, Iraq, and this is Iran. Those are the nations that the land of Assyria covered. So this almost could be a warning for the nations today that want Israel annihilated. And he says in verse 5, it says, we will raise against him 7 shepherds. Wasn't sure what to do with this, but all the commentaries that I read said that this is just speaking about enough or more than enough Israeli leaders will be raised up to face the enemy. It said in verse 6, he shall deliver us from the Assyrian. Some have suggested that this phrase, the Assyrian, refers to the Antichrist. Could be something worth considering. But I also wonder if it doesn't refer to what took place in Hezekiah's day and Micah's day, when the Assyrians came back to conquer the southern kingdom of Judah. Hezekiah and the people were terrified when the Assyrians showed up. And Hezekiah prayed, and God answered. Watch how God answered. And it came to pass on a certain night that who? The angel of the Lord. Who's that? Jesus, the eternal one, went out and killed in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. And when the people arose early in the morning, there were the corpses all dead. This one shall be our peace when the Assyrian comes. I don't know, it kind of makes me think about Jesus. Let me just say this. You can trust the one who has experience. Remember that Jesus has been around from eternity past. You may be kind of new to this Jesus stuff. You may have just started learning about who Jesus is, but I got news for you. Jesus is a little bit older than the 2 years that you've been reading about him. He's a little bit older than you. He's actually even older than me. Whoa, he's got to be. That's why they call him the Ancient of Days, because he's older than me. No, just teasing. You know what? If your car breaks down and you don't know what's wrong, who are you going to take it to? You going to take it to the kid who's learning auto mechanics in high school? Or are you going to take it to a guy who's been in the business for 30 years and can tell what's wrong just by how the car runs, just how it sounds? If your computer breaks down and you can't fix it yourself, do you want to ask your neighbor across the street who just got his first computer last week to help you? No, you want to take it to somebody who knows what they're doing. So what do you do when you're broken? Jesus has been in the business of saving people for a long time. For a long time. We can even go back to the days of the Assyrian. He knows how to save people. You can trust him with your life. You can trust him with your mess. You can trust him with your eternity. Verse 7. Then the remnant of Jacob shall be in the midst of many peoples, like dew from the Lord, like showers on the grass, that tarry for no man, nor wait for the sons of men. I think maybe he's talking about the Jews being scattered around the world, and that somehow they are a blessing or refreshing like dew. Perhaps that's what he's talking about. Verse 8. And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many peoples, like a lion among the beasts of the forests, like a young lion among flocks of sheep, who, if he passes through, both treads down and tears in pieces, and none can deliver. Your hand shall be lifted up against your adversaries, and all your enemies shall be cut off. Now here, the picture about the Jews being scattered throughout the world, they're more like lions as well. So if you're their enemies, don't mess with them. Verse 10, and it shall be in that day, says the Lord, that I will cut off your horses from your midst and destroy your chariots. Now, I was kind of confused as I was working on this passage, because it's like, well, destroy whose chariots? Because he's been talking to the Jews. He's been talking about the Jews. He's not going to certainly destroy their chariots. But then the more I studied, I got to thinking that's exactly who he's talking about. That God would destroy Israel's weapons because he wants them to trust him and not in their weapons. And David wrote, some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord, the name of Yahweh, our God. And it goes on, it gets worse. Verse 11, I will cut off the cities of your land and throw down all your strongholds. I will cut off sorceries from your hand, and you shall have no soothsayers. Your carved images I will also cut off, and your sacred pillars from your midst. You shall no more worship the work of your hands. I will pluck your wooden images from your midst. Thus I will destroy your cities. He's talking to Israel. And he says, think like your carved images. There will be no more idolatrous worship in Israel when Jesus comes back. He's going to remove it all. Verse 15, I will execute vengeance in anger and fury on the nations that have not heard. Now here he turns about talking about the judgment that will be coming on the unbelieving nations. You can read about that in the book of Revelation chapter 19. I want to just end with one thought here in verse 13 where he talks about your carved images I will cut off. And I want to talk about the principle of judgment for believers. Even though Jesus will be coming back to save the nation of Israel, he will also judge them as well. Do you see that? He's going to come back to save them, but he will also judge them as well. He will rescue them from their enemies, but he's also going to destroy the things in their midst that have taken them away from him. And in a way, as believers, we too will face a type of judgment as well. Now, wait a second, Pastor Rich. I thought you said when I got saved, I'm not going to be judged. Hold on here. I'm not talking about God sending people to hell who have believed in him, but there is a judgment we will face. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 says this. According to the grace of God, which was given to me as a wise master builder, I have laid the foundation, and another builds on it. But let each one take heed how he builds on it. For no other foundation can anyone lay than that which is laid, which is Jesus Christ. Now, if anyone builds on this foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, each one's work will become clear, for the day will declare it, because it will be revealed by fire, and the fire will test each one's work of what sort it is. If anyone's work which he has built on it endures, he will receive a reward. If anyone's work is burned, he will suffer loss, but he himself will be saved, yet so as through the fire. See, the foundation of your life as a believer, the foundation of your life is Jesus Christ. And what you do with your life after coming to trust in Jesus, that's the kind of house that you're building on your foundation. You can build your house out of all kinds of different stuff. He talks about gold, silver, and precious stones. That's one way you can build your house. Or wood, hay, and stubble. You can choose to build your house out of stuff like that, stuff that would burn. And in the end, when you and I meet Jesus, there will be a day when we'll put it all before him. There will be a fire. And the things that burn up, you lose. The things that make it through the fire become your reward. And Paul makes it sound as if some of us will come through with nothing but just little wisps of smoke, like Wile E. Coyote every time he tries to blow up the Roadrunner, That some people, they'll make it into heaven, but there's like just little wisps of smoke because everything else is burnt up. One of the determining factors of how your life makes it through the fire, I believe, is the motives behind what you do. I think that's one of the factors of this judgment. Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 13, though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I've become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains but have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned but have not love, it profits me nothing. That sounds like going through the fire and you're left with nothing. I can do a lot of things for a lot of reasons. Sometimes the pastor guilts you into it. I'm really good at that. I'll make you feel guilty. I can make you feel guilty about anything. It's my superpower. I can make you feel guilty. And if you're doing things out of guilt, I don't know, it kind of sounds like you're building out of straw. Sometimes we do things to impress people. And you'll hear that in church, you will. Well, how's your week gone? Oh, my week's gone great, brother. I led 15 people to Christ yesterday in my sleep. Oh, really? And all they can do is they want to make sure that they tell you all the good things that they do, because they want to feel better about themselves. They want to feel important. Look, friends, if you're not doing things out of love, we have a problem. That doesn't mean you stop doing those things. You can restart them and learn to do them out of love. And I'm not talking about Valentine's Day card love. I'm talking about God's kind of love. Paul will go on in 1 Corinthians 13 and define that love. Sacrificial love, patient love, love that's kind. We want to do things for the right reason. Are you ready for this kind of judgment? Do things need to change? We're going to have communion. And so if I could have the folks come and set stuff up, we'll have communion here real quick. Let's pray.